So we had a group of 10 that went down to Anahuac, Mexico, to the children's home there, a children's home that I've been associated with for 30 years and been leading trips down there for 16. And I can tell you without any hesitation, this was a very unique trip to Casa. It was just so many new things that I had never experienced, and that's a lot of years of going down there. It was such a blessing. The children's home has just reached its pinnacle. It is just at an amazing point in its history. And I just see it continuing, just continuing its trajectory upward. The kids were just incredible. Our team was incredible. And in our team, many of you know Angela Rios. She was a student here for a time. She's a nurse in Fresno. She joined us. Dustin joined us. And then Michael Jimenez brought 7 of the members of Cactus Road in Leveland. And what an incredible blessing they were. Even teenagers. There were 3 teenagers. They were a blessing. No, they were seriously a blessing. 2 are Michael's. But Aria was such a blessing as well. I can't say enough good things about that team. I can't. They just did exceptional. Many of them had never done anything like this before. And it was just a perfect union of the home, the church, and our team. We were all just one body, which is what we are. And so today I want to start by just letting you see a video about the home. Many of you have not been there. This video was just done in December. It's one of the best videos the home's ever put out that really gives you a glimpse of what's happening there. And many of you are familiar with Pepe, who used to be in Mexico City. Princeton works side by side with Pepe, and Pepe is the best. And he is doing so good down there. He is doing so good. He's been there over 3 years now. And that's a testament right there to how well Pepe is doing. So you'll get to see Pepe. For some reason, he's unshaven and unkept in this video, but you'll still see him in there. Anyway, without any further ado, let's just run the video.
Casa de la Esperanza is located near a small village named Anahuac, Chihuahua, Mexico. It's in the Sierra Madres, largely populated by Tarahumara Indians. And most of our kids, many of them, have some connection, some bloodline leading to that nationality. Currently, we have 58 children. Our older ones, they assume sort of a brother-sister relationship with the younger ones, and that really helps us in the care and love of our kids. My name is Gil Sanchez, and my wife and I have been serving at Casa for the last 25 years, going on 25 years. We became especially focused on devotionals and teaching, on loving the kids, of course, and filling their lives with care and affirmation and things that would enable them to feel like where they came from. And I'm really grateful to God that Pepe has come our way, that he and I have developed this relationship, and I have absolute confidence in him and know that he'll take it to the next level.
My desire for Casa is that God take control of every area on this ministry. How we take care of the kids, relate with the neighborhood, church, with the visitors, with everything.
It wasn't what I thought Mission Field was about. I thought it was more grandiose than that, but it wasn't. It was so basic, it was so raw, so survival for us at first. Some of the parents of the children who come from the community and relatives became opportunities for us to share the gospel of Christ when they would come and visit the kids. So planting a church just makes sense to us that that's where we needed to go. We now have a beautiful church building with beautiful people, disciples of Christ, filling it, and it's growing. The school, we have an elementary in play, as well as a middle school. and we're looking to eventually develop the high school. We've developed a vocational ed building to teach a range of skills for our girls and boys. Just being able to experience a range of things like welding and plumbing and some real practical life skills. But in addition to that, know how to put a house together and wire it and plumb it, those kinds of things.
I want that kids, when they leave, they take that lifestyle with them. I want them to feel like they belong to something bigger.
It's powerful. It transforms lives. Over the course of the years, we've served almost 800 children, many of whom have gone on to live so much better lives. And we know who to give credit to. It's the love of God.
I am so excited about our partnership with you. I know that you are gonna bring too much of your spirit to the table, and we are so happy to be brothers and sisters with you.
This is good, what's here now, and how it's going to continue to evolve and grow. And I feel blessed that God has given me this purpose in my heart to continue to work in His kingdom and try to do something significant in a different way.
A better idea of kind of what Casa is like. So for me, this was my second time in Mexico, a different part of Mexico, second mission trip ever. I've been to Mexico City before, and that was about 9 years ago. So when I was like 16 in high school. And let me tell you, I was really nervous about this trip. I was unsure of what to expect with dealing with kids and just this whole new side of it where it's like, I have to do what? We're going where? But Darren, when we met the night before we traveled, he told us, I'm just gonna get you there and then just trust what happens. So we did, and it was great. The flight from Lubbock to Dallas was easy, it was nice and simple, but then it turns out our flight in Dallas was about to take off as soon as we landed. So Darren's like, hey, we're gonna have to run. So we did. We ran from we had to hop on the sky rail. We ran all the way to our flight. I got there first just because I'm a little bit faster than some of them. And I got there and I was like, hey, I got like 9 other people behind me. Please hold on. And the guy there gave me a little attitude, but he was like, well, you can get on now or you can wait for your crew. And I was like, I'll wait for my crew. And then we got on, and then it turns out it was delayed anywhere. It's like, oh, we don't have enough staff. So it was just like, cool, we just ran our butts off for no reason. But it worked out. It was great. And man, let me tell you, this trip left me speechless. I don't know how I can put it into words of what we experienced there at Casa. The kids there are amazing. They shine with a light that is so bright, it is blinding. They live their lives with this sense of pride almost, where it's like they are not ashamed of what happened to them. They live with the intent of, I want to follow God, I want to follow Jesus, and that is the forefront of their thoughts. And me being an introvert, it was a little strange at first. Of it's like, Darren told us, all right, you're going to go in, we're going to have lunch with the kids, you're just going to go sit with them and have fun. So it's just like, what? But it was great. The kids are understanding that, oh, this guy doesn't know how to speak Spanish, so we're going to have to, it's going to take a second. But it worked out really well because these kids are patient with you. They just want to get to know you. And it's really just as simple of questions of what's your name? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite movie? What do you do for fun? Do you have siblings? Are you married? Are you, things like that. So, and you get to the point where it's like, okay, I know this question. I've heard it 1,000 times. So I know what they're asking. I know they're asking, what is my name? Right? And oh my goodness, everything that we did with these kids was astounding. When we got there, Darren told us, it's like, okay, we don't know what we're gonna do yet. We're gonna rely on Pepe. He's gonna tell us what we're gonna do. And then Pepe says like, we don't have any like manual work for you. You're just gonna play with the kids all day. And it's like, okay, sweet. Sounds like a great time. So that's what we did. We spent time with the kids almost a whole day. And how awesome that was. I'm speechless of like how great it was to just spend time with these kids. Some of the highlights, I think, of this trip, there's a few. I can't name them all because I can only have so much time, but a few I can name is there was one day where we were going on a hike, quote unquote hike. And so there was this like nice big hill that's near Casa. And Pepe was like, hey, it's like a 20-minute walk. It's not that bad. It was not 20 minutes, people. It was more than 20 minutes. I think it was close to an hour walk there. But that's also because of the kids, because there's so many, and because there's so many younger ones, it kind of takes a second for them to. Darren knows he had a few stragglers that were lagging, and he had to kind of like drag them along, and we did eventually get to that hill, and it was really great, breathtaking view. It was awesome. You can see Casa from where we were, but there was a point during that quote unquote hike where I was walking, and I'm someone who kind of like takes up the rear. I'm usually one where it's like, all right, let's make sure that everyone gets there. And there was this child, I can't remember his name, which bugs me greatly, but it was this sweet little boy. He comes up to me and he says, hola, and I was like, oh, hello. Gives me like a nice side hug, and then he just grabs my hand. And the whole way there, walking hand in hand up that hill. And that moment almost took my breath away. It was something I've never experienced before. Something that I've just never had happen to me, where it's like, I've played with kids. I've done summer camps where I've been a counselor. I've dealt with so many variety of age groups, but it was so, I can't put it into words of just like, oh, this sweet little boy, he's come over and he's grabbed my hand. And me, it's like both our hands are really sweaty. It's kind of gross, but like there's that moment where it's like, I can't let go. If I let go, that's going to hurt this child, and it's going to hurt me too, because of probably like the puppy dog face he's going to put on. But I'm speechless. I cannot put it into words. But for me, that was such a highlight, because that was, I feel like, a moment that it was almost like God was speaking through that child, where it's like, even though I was kind of uncomfortable coming on this trip and really didn't know what to expect, that was a moment where it's like, man, I'm so glad I came. How awesome this trip was. And once we got to that hill, the kid, the boy, like he showed me his hand. It was covered in, I think, both our sweats. And I was like, me too. So, but like, I wiped it off, and then I was like, muy bien, like very good. And we did like a simple high five. It was really great, guys. It was so great. And then another highlight was there was a time where there's like nothing really going on. And Darren told us, like, all right, we're going to take some of the kids and we're just going to get coffee. We're going to go to a coffee shop somewhere and we're just going to have a great time with them. And that was awesome. One, because it was some of the best coffee I think I've ever had in my life. Amen. Two, because we were just spending time with the kids and we were bonding with them. They were growing with us. We were growing with them. They were pouring into us. We were pouring into them. It was awesome. These kids really showed me that there is so much more that we can be doing as disciples of Christ. More as missionaries, as preachers, youth ministers. There's so much more that we can be doing. There's so much more to what we do. And it really also showed me that it's like, you know what? I have no idea what's going to happen after sunset, but I just know that wherever I go, I need to have a light that shines bright like those kids do. A light that shines so bright that I reflect Jesus in the way I talk, the way I act, the things I do. And that's in itself kind of like just what being a missionary is about. It's about showing the world Jesus and just how we act and the way we portray ourselves. Guys, again, this trip, oh my goodness, how awesome it was. It was a week that was tiring. There was a lot that happened just with how tired we were after the days were over. I got pretty badly burnt in the sun, but by the end of it, when we were saying goodbye, that was the most hardest goodbye I think I've ever experienced. Because as we were leaving, they circled around us. We were in the center. And they sang to us in Spanish and English, "We love you with the love of the Lord." And they were hugging us goodbye. They're swarming us all over the place. I was at almost the point of crying, which I usually don't do, by the way. But it's like it brought me close to tears because of just how impactful those kids were to me. It's like, yeah, we're trying to like go and like we're not trying to be heroes, but we're trying to make it somewhat of a difference where it's just like we're just trying to help them. I think they helped me more than I helped them. But I'm not the only one speaking, right? We still got another speaker. So really, I just hope what I said to you guys today was just gives you a little idea of just some of the things that we did while at Casa. And if you want my recommendation, if there's another trip to Casa again, do it. It is some of the best times you'll have ever on a mission trip.
Well, hello. I am Michael, and I'm the preacher at Cactus Drive Church of Christ in Levelland, which is about 15 miles, and I always get my directions backwards, but I think it's that way. So, yeah. So not very far from here. I'm also the assistant director at White River Youth Camp, which I get to work with kids all the time at White River, and so it's really a blessing to go to a place outside of White River and see some of the different ways in which they organize and the ways that the kids interact with each other. And I'll tell you, it is completely different. The way that the kids react and act with one another in Mexico is completely different than the way I see it acting in White River Youth Camp. Though that there is love, there is unity, there is family out there at White River, there is just something special with what is happening there at Casa de la Esperanza. This was my second trip to go out there, and I went out there last year with Darren. Darren invited me to come out. And he had been telling me for a long time, quite a long time, listen, you need to come out, you need to come out, you need to come out. And so finally I listened to him, went out there last year, and it was a great experience. There was a lot of hard labor that we did last year. Every single night I would go home sore. This year I was telling my whole family, I was like, listen, I brought my family with me this time, and I said, listen, there's going to be a lot of hard labor we're going to do out there. And the most thing that they did all the time that they were out there as far as labor goes was pick up a 5-gallon 5 gallon of paint to take to the house. And that was about it. The kids were off the whole week that we were there, so we got to spend a lot of time, just like Dustin was saying, that we got to spend a lot of time with those kids. And some of the things that I just want to share with you guys. Number one, if you ever get an opportunity to go on a mission trip outside of the States, then do it. I would highly recommend doing it because it will change your view on how others are living and how others, how blessed you are and how wonderfully blessed they are with as little as they have. And it's just a very eye-opening experience. If you ever get an opportunity to go on a mission trip, take your family. Take your family. I had 2 different mission trips there. One was by myself, being single, or not being single, but by myself, alone without my family and my kids. And then the second time was with my family and my kids. And to watch my children, you can see a couple of pictures up here as they interact with these other kids, as they step out of a comfort zone of, listen, I don't speak their language. I don't know what it is that they like. I don't know what it is. None of that. None of that mattered because the kids cling to my kids. And it immediately made my kids open themselves up and say, listen, we're going to be best friends now. And they are. My son, Caden, is now wanting to stay in contact with one of the kids that are there because of the fact that they developed this close relationship. Darren points out to me when we go down there that this is a society, this is a group of kids, the Tarahumara Indian group of kids that are there are the outsiders. They're the outcast. And one of the things that we did down there was we got to watch a cultural day where the kids dressed up in their culture, in their dress and their history, and they told stories of their history. They sang songs that were based from their history. All these things went on. And one of the things that one of the teachers got up and she said, I'm just going to read just briefly of something that she said. I had my Google Translate up there sitting on the desk, so I caught a little bit of what she said. But she said this: our roots, our identity, and our richness of our indigenous culture is in increasingly globalized world. It is easy to lose sight of who we really are and where we come from. But today, I want to remind you of the importance of being proud of your indigenous roots. At least, I'm proud of them. Yes, they are our culture, our traditions, and our history. Our indigenous countries connect us with a way of life that values harmony with nature, respect for all forms of life and community. And I think that is perfectly lived out through these kids. Perfectly lived out through these kids. These kids are those outcasts. These kids are the ones that are left in these orchards. And now they've been brought into this home. They've been brought into this home to be given a new life. And it's beautiful to watch them. They don't live like they are that outcast. But they want to be accepted by those who are coming in from the outside. And so when we came in there, when my kids came in there, they looked for that. They clung to my kids. They wanted that acceptance, and it was so awesome to see how united not only that were they together, but how they wanted to bring us into that same family. I want to kind of end with this because I think this is powerful. Darren read this scripture to us while we were there, and it was just a reminder of these kids. This is from Mark chapter 10, verse 13. It says, people were bringing little children to Jesus from him to place his hands on them, but the disciples rebuked them. And when Jesus saw this, he was indignant, and he said to them, let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Truly I tell you, anyone who will not receive the kingdom of God like a little child will never enter it. I think that that's so special. I think that that's so special because Jesus, during this time, he just gave this awesome sermon. He just gave this awesome teaching. And after he was done teaching, all these people wanted to come up and have their children get close to Jesus. And the reason why is because whenever a Jewish child was ready to get of age, they wanted their rabbis to touch them, to bless them before they moved on to the next step of their life. And here the parents are sitting there going, the teacher, the rabbi of the rabbis is here. We need to get our children as close to him as possible. And all these disciples are like pushing him away, like, Jesus doesn't have time for you. He doesn't have time for you. He's got more important things to do. He's got healings to do. He's got other teachings to do. And then Jesus gets, it says, Mark uses the word indignant. That word's only used 2 times in the gospel, or 2 times in the whole New Testament. Only 2 other times. It's a word that we don't even have a word for. It's a ferocious fear that he has to his friends. And he has that because they are pushing these children away as if they don't matter. And that's what these kids have felt. They have felt like they have never mattered. And yet, people like Pepe, people like the Pueblo Church of Christ there in Colorado have opened their eyes to see these kids like Jesus has seen them. And I think that's the whole foundation of why the Casa is where it is because they have seen these children as Jesus sees them. And they feel like they are a priority. And they are going to they're going to raise these kids up in this new home. They're going to raise these kids up to be disciples so that they can go out and make more disciples. So I was very excited, and I'm so glad that I've been able to be on this trip. Again, I would highly recommend going to Casa if you get a chance. Thanks.
Well, as you can tell, it was a good trip. We didn't even get to mention that we watched Nacho Libre with the orphans, but we did. And it was the best. They laughed so hard. What a blessing. What a blessing it is to step out of your comfort zone and to go and experience. There's always fear involved. You heard a little of that. Some of the people in the group were very apprehensive, but that apprehension was gone almost immediately. Those kids, they are the heroes of this trip. When Jesus says, "To such belongs the kingdom of heaven," I think of these kids. I come back from this trip saying, I want to be more like them. They live their Christian reality every moment of every day. The amount of discipline issues, very minimal. They just root for each other. They cheer for each other. They encourage one another. There's once in a while a little bit, of normal kids, but for the most part, they've been given a new reality. So have we. They have been rescued from a hopeless state and put into the best state. So have we. I want to live it out in my life like they do in theirs. And I want to encourage us with those words. Let's go and live with the reality that we've been rescued, that we've been saved and put into God's family, just like these kids.